opportunity. But then people started to say, well, why is she the one getting called for all this stuff? Why are they calling her overseas? Why are they paying for her to go over there? Why not me? Why not me? So then you have to learn how to adjust and sometimes temper what's going on with you around your colleagues so that they don't sabotage you at work. And that's a sad reality, but it's true. So once I started doing television, oh boy, now I'm still a full-time federal employee. So I'm here representing, today I'm here representing my businesses, NCAM Environmental Health Sciences and Dr. Noreen, the Talk Stock. The Talk Stock is the speaking side. Environmental Health Sciences is the consulting that I do with physicians, with attorneys, with construction companies. Everything that I do as far as, writing up reports, doing the real toxicology, the products-driven side of the house. And Dr. Noreen, the Talk Stock, that's the fun side. That's when I'm able to translate the language of science into something that's highly useful. I'll tell you a really quick story. I was speaking a couple years ago in Las Vegas. It was January. And it was a room of about 3,000 to 4,000 people. And they were all open to nutrition. But I was giving them my experience and my expertise as a toxicologist, because toxin and toxicology, some of the most misused words, and detox, these products that are out there, they don't really help you detoxify. They let you run somewhere real quickly. And I was not about that. I'm like, do you know what detoxification is? Do you know what real detoxification is? Because everybody stop and take a real quick breath. Take a deep breath in. Do you know what you just pulled into your body? Breathe out. The easiest way to be exposed to chemicals and to expose your body to chemicals is to keep breathing, okay? But because you just breathe that in, does it mean it's going to have a toxic effect? No, not necessarily, okay? So your body has to absorb it. It has to be distributed to the site of the toxic effect. So, I wanted to clear that up. I wanted to tell people, look, toxicology affects us all, and this is why it's important, and this is why it's not just the forensic toxicology that you see on whatever that police show is. And that's one great aspect of toxicology, but toxicology touches all of us. And that's why I'm able to work with so many different backgrounds. That's why I'm able to serve as an expert witness for attorneys. That's why I'm able to help with diagnostics on the clinical toxicology side with physicians. That's why I'm able to help clean up with ground remediation. So when I go on television, and someone asks me, how hard is it to get on television? Very, very, very hard, because producers, they don't know your message. And if you cannot explain it to them in a way that is an attention-grabbing type of headline that they believe their viewers would be interested in, they're going to pass on you every time. What's harder than getting on television? Staying on television. That is extremely difficult to stay on television. And you have to pitch all the time. I put in pitches, some of which I think are going to work. They'll be slam dunks, and they'll say, no, we don't want that. And then I'll pitch something else, which I think is a really soft kind of topic. And they'll, we love that. Let's do that. This Monday I did one on, it's called Killer Caffeine. Anybody ever heard of granulated caffeine that you can buy in these tubs from the health food store? You can buy a tub of that for $10. A teaspoon will kill you. And it killed a young high school boy last year. So they wanted to talk about that, because I'm like, this is more potent than cocaine and methamphetamines. And parents, students, athletes, you need to know that you don't just grab a teaspoonful, put it in some juice, and drink it and expect to live. Okay? So, something like that, that's very important. Did I get to talk about mode of action? Did I get to talk about anything really toxicological on television? Absolutely not. But it made an impact, because people started emailing me immediately. They started going to my site, When I give people tips about how they can reduce their own toxic exposure at home, they'll say, wow, we never thought about that. And it's not just laypersons who have no scientific background, it's a lot of us who are scientists. We store chemicals under our cabinets, and we think they're in these bottles, and they're not affecting us. They're not changing the quality of our air. But a lot of us do indoor air quality testing, and what do we find? VOCs, okay? We find dust that have VOCs adhering to them. So we're all shedding about, anywhere from 5 to 6 pounds of skin per year. We clean our houses, and what adheres to those dust particles? VOCs, okay? What doesn't adhere to the dust particles? into a house and it smells clean, what does it smell like? It smells like chemicals. It smells like an acute exposure to me, okay? And so I say, how long have you had that under your cabinet? Oh, a few years now. You know, they had them on sale at Sam's, so I bought a bunch of them. But it's in the bottle, it's not bothering me. Have you ever walked down an aisle of the store and you can smell all of those detergents and all those cleansing products before you can even, you know, get down the aisle? Well, they're off-gassing, they're leaching, these things are not airtight, and they are getting into your air, and you're breathing a different chemical mixture. So every time you walk into a room, into someone's house, into someone's car, into a different environment, you're exposing yourself to a different chemical soup or chemical mixture. That's why I wrote Talking Toxicology, because people need to understand, they need to know. So back to that, I spoke in January. I went and spoke again in March in Seattle. Smaller crowd than the large crowd that was in Vegas. But I had a woman come up to me with tears in her eyes, and she said, Dr. Noreen, I want to thank you so much. And I said, you're welcome, but what for? You know, why are you crying? You're going to make me cry now. So she said, you see that lady over there? And she was standing about 20, 40 feet away. She said, that's my mom. Every year for the last 10 years, she's been in the hospital for 1 to 2 months. She said, I've been trying to get her to make changes in the way she eats and what she does to her body for years. She heard you in January. She was on 17 prescription medications at the time. This is the end of March now. She said her doctor has removed her from 9, he's canceled 9 of her prescription medications because she made changes based upon what you said in that 40-minute lecture. So I can go on and on and on and on about toxicology. I love talking toxicology. And I want you to talk toxicology. And I love the advocates who are not scientists. And I love when they come to me and they want clarification and they want to tell the right story. But how do you, as a specialist, get out there and make sure that what you're doing in the lab has an impact on someone's life? That was very amazing and special to me to know that I impacted someone's life. So how do you impact someone's life? You know, I recall, you know, the Holy Grail was when you got published in a peer-reviewed journal. But then what happens after that? Are people repeating your studies? Is it getting reproduced? How often are you getting cited? You know, if you get a few citations a year or a few citations a month, you're really doing something. But do we know whether or not it's affecting someone's life? I never got that back. So to be able to get that back is why I said, I love speaking to the common person. So sometimes I get invited to conferences, toxicology conferences, and I'm not discussing toxicology at all. I'm discussing with other professionals how to take their message and how to translate it into something that's easily understandable. Because even if you're not a multipreneur or an entrepreneur, if you're at work for a university or an agency and there are decision makers who are non-scientists, they need to understand what you're talking about. When you're asking for $100,000, $50,000, even $10,000, they need to know why there's value in what you say, because they're not just going to give you the money in this climate because you're the technical expert. Does that make sense to everybody? I mean, so, you know, I'm hoping, how am I doing on time? I have a minute left. And I have so much more to say. I just want to say one thing, having it all. If you want to have it all, you might want to realize that you can't have it all at the same time. Okay? You might want to plan what having it all is. Do you want a family? Do you want a career? Do you want to publish? Do you want to have a business? If you have a business, know that you're not always going to do what you love. Sometimes you're going to do what the customer dictates. Okay? So what are your products? What's going to be in most demand? If that's not necessarily what you want to do, maybe you don't want to be in that type of business. So plan ahead. When you're doing your business plan, these are things you need to think about. When you're going in front of an audience, you need to think about how what you're saying is going to be interpreted. You need to think about how you look. And when I talk about being grateful, when I went to NASA, I didn't have a computer for 3 to 4 weeks. Did I complain? No. I pulled out books and I started to study the history of the assessments, and I just was quiet. Okay? I was quiet and I read. And when they were ready for me, I was ready for them. But I had students that I brought into NASA and for a summer internship. And the first thing I can hear is them coming down the hall complaining. They don't even have a place for me to sit. I don't have a laptop. They don't have a laptop. What? This sense of entitlement is not good. You know, companies are filled with people who do nothing but complain. So what makes you so special to come in and be another complainer? Are you going to stand out or are you going to stand down? So you need to stand out. And standing out sometimes means being quiet. It means being prepared. So let's, you know, again, when I say being grateful, be grateful. Don't be afraid to meet new people. Don't be afraid to put yourself out there. And sometimes that takes practice. You know, other people might not think I'm a shy person, but I think I'm a really, really shy person. There's a shy person inside of me. And sometimes I go places and I'm just so quiet and, you know, nobody knows who I am. And that's nice because I can just listen. And then there's other places I walk into a room and people know who I am and then you know, so then I have to engage. But never be afraid to put yourself out there. The first NOBCChE conference I ever came to was in San Diego, and Winifred was there, and there was a really beautiful reception. It was back when the drug companies had really big budgets for receptions, and they had a live band, and everybody was sitting, you know, at the tables and on the wall, and not one person was on the dance floor. And some of you remember this. I went right in the middle of that dance floor by myself, and I started dancing. Not provocatively, okay? But I started dancing, and I was smiling, and the people from TSU were like, who is that girl? We don't want to claim her. But within a few minutes, I had a conga line going around the room, okay? And Winifred, I remember her smiling and laughing. And I remember getting so many compliments from people like, oh, who is she? Who is that girl? She's just so much fun. I remember the drug reps coming up to me afterwards and saying, thank you for making our reception. And I want to say, and give me a job. But, you know, so these are just, you know, don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Always in a respectful way. And know that, yes, NOBCCchE is family, but family doesn't always get along. You can have disagreements, but then you come back together and you work together as a family. There's no other organization that's going to care about you long-term like NOBCCchE will. Okay, NOBCCchE has been invested in me and my career path and has followed me and has supported me. And I've gone to these really large conferences where you can get lost in the shuffle. There are thousands of people there, but you need to always come back to NOBCCchE. Okay? NOBCCchE is an amazing, amazing, amazing group of professionals. There's so many PhDs and, you know, advanced degrees in this room. When I spoke in Dubai, I got a standing ovation because I said women should go on and get graduate degrees. If I say that here, that's like, well, there's nothing. I mean, we all have those. We all have those. What do you mean? How many doctorates do you have? I have 3. I mean, but in Dubai, that got a standing ovation because the women there weren't even allowed to go to school for the longest time. So I know I'm way over my 1 minute, so I will wrap it up. Thank you so much. Right after the luncheon, please come up and talk to me. Thank you.
Let's give a quick round of applause for Dr. Noreen Khan-Mayberry. Thank you for the great speech and the great advice to everyone here. Next, we will have the award presentation with Talitha as well as Ella. Sorry, actually with Dr. Valerie Khan.
We can fix it.
Stage. Thank you so much, Dr. Noreen Tostock. How many of you read our e-briefs that come out weekly? So we got to do better about that. Yeah, we need to sign up for our newsletter. How many of you follow or see the post by the Tostock, our weekly set? I see some hands in the back. Yeah. So if you get our newsletters, we do a feature on the Tostock about once a month. So check it out. Thank you again for